The White Sox, a lot's been going on at the winter meetings, have the first overall pick in the 2026 draft. They saw a lot of improvement in 2025 compared to the 2024 season. And so we're welcoming our friend Dan Helotie onto the channel. He's the play-by-play broadcaster for the Cannonballers, single-A affiliate of the White Sox. Let's start with initial reaction, man. Your post was actually one of the first times I saw it on my timeline. Yesterday, the day before we're recording this, MLB Draft lottery goes through its process, and it's the Chicago White Sox that get the first overall pick in the 2026 draft. Your first reaction when you saw the news, I'm sure your head was spinning a little bit, knowing you're going to see this person pretty soon.
Yeah, first thing that came to my mind was, oh crud, I better start prepping already. I mean, we're still months and months away from the draft, but already, I mean, I'm going to have to keep an eye on this very sharp. Being the single A affiliate, it will be one of the first stops potentially for whoever the White Sox go with in the first overall pick. We'll see how it transpires. They could completely skip us, right? It happened a couple of years ago with Hagen Smith. Completely skipping Kannapolis, going right to Winston-Salem. So it could be one of those situations. But regardless, I'd rather have and not need prep than need prep and not have it. So staying prepared and staying vigilant in preparation along the way. But first reaction was definitely excitement. And oh, crud, I better get ready.
Kind of had that kick of urgency in there of like, oh, this is about to be a very, very big deal before the draft comes up in a handful of months. You've got time to prep. And okay, I don't want to speculate too much, right? But this is a name that's been popping up as the consensus favorite for the number one overall pick. Roch Cholowsky is the name that keeps popping up on mock draft boards as the consensus number one option. Before the draft order was even determined, this is the name that was popping up out of UCLA. Where was your knowledge on him beforehand, and how much in the last 24 hours leading up to this conversation have you just been flying through Cholowsky highlight tape?
I'm very familiar with Roch Cholowsky. He actually has made a stop in Kannapolis before. I've called a game with Roch Cholowsky before. He was part of Team USA, the collegiate national team, over the summer, and we're blessed here in Kannapolis to get a collegiate national team game over the summer around July 4th every year. So really exciting time every year to have Team USA out and get to have them around and start seeing some of these top prospects. And Roch was definitely a cornerstone of that infield for USA baseball this summer. And it was really fun to get to see him here in Kannapolis for one game. It was super chill. It was a laid back game, and it was cut short. Unfortunately, we got through about 5 innings of that game and then got dumped on with some rain. But in the 5 innings I saw, Roch Cholowsky was super impressed. Kid definitely shows a lot of the skill needed for that shortstop position. He plays it at a very elite level. I was impressed with his fielding and just overall his IQ, I think, is off the charts. You could really kind of gather that just watching him play baseball.
So you're the broadcaster in Kannapolis. What's your excitement level knowing that Atrium Health Ballpark could have another generational talent on the way in a few months' time?
Yeah, I mean, it's really fun. The way I look at it every day is we have generational talent coming through every day.
Yeah.
All of these guys are super talented, and they all have different stories and different journeys that they've taken to get to Kannapolis. And I just am blessed to be the person that tells the stories along the way, right? So they're kind of busy playing the game, so I'm the one that you unfortunately have to hear on the microphone telling the stories of the game and of the players that are playing it. So every day it's a blessing to call games in Kannapolis and seeing this talent that comes through the White Sox org. The last 2 years has really been fun. My first season in 2022 as the full-time voice, we had Braden Montgomery, obviously, who's making waves on the south side. And even this most recent year, I mean, so many top prospects coming through Kannapolis, and it's been such a fun time around here. It's been really a joy to continue to tell the story and to tell these fans, right, in this area about the amount of talent that's coming through, and to say, hey, like, the guy that's the starting shortstop for the Chicago White Sox, he was right there, like, across the street a couple of years ago. So it's always a fun time around here.
Yeah, the fun part about minor league baseball, right? You get to go behind home plate for like $20 to see that starting shortstop before they're the superstar. So that's a lot of fun. I'm glad you brought up Colson, because looking at the big league club, right? The White Sox are still just a year removed from that historic 121 loss season. Will Venable took the reins this year. The team improved by 19 games. It felt like more than that at times. What is having the number one overall pick do for this organization's hope after some rainy days the last handful of years here?
Yeah, I think it's the cherry on top of the ice cream sundae at this point. There's been so much work done by Chris Getz and the player development staff. Paul Janish has done a great job as well of getting these guys ready for the big league stage. And then when they get there, obviously you're seeing some of the fruits of their labor. Colson Montgomery getting to where he is now, scuffling in AAA. And I think that something I saw earlier this month of Chris Getz talking about how Colson showed up to spring training and showed up in the AAA season, and you could tell he wasn't himself. Well, all it took was a reset in Arizona, and look what he's doing now. It's really fun to watch. There's just so much energy in Chicago. I was really blessed to get to go up for a weekend and kind of take it all in and really see for myself just what the energy is in that town. And man alive, those White Sox fans, they are so passionate and so talented. The team is so talented, and it's really fun. Colson Montgomery is obviously the cornerstone of that youth movement, but so many other great guys. Chase Mydroth sticks out as a fan favorite. He's a guy that has just such energy on the field. And then Kyle Teal, so advanced to the bat. Edgar Caro, just a well-rounded catcher. So many really good players there, and there's even more to come within this White Sox org.
Love the name drops there to the Crochet trade, too. That seems to be turning out pretty well. I know it sucked to lose an ace like that in the moment, but the haul that the Sox got a couple of big leaguers there already. I'd love to talk about the general direction of the organization, right? Outside of rookie ball, you're the first person since 2022 to see the prospects that form into big league ball players. Have you noticed the Sox, since you started a few years ago, turning a corner when it comes to talent evaluation, where these guys are at in the crop when they hit Kannapolis, and what's been the difference maker when it comes to getting more wins in Major League Baseball down the road?
Yeah, I think a big part of that has been the player development staff that they've had in the organization in the last couple of years. I mean, you've really had that in some guys with kind of that pedigree of big league experience. My first manager when I was here was Guillermo Quiroz, obviously a big league manager, a big league player, I should say, and guy that's done it at the big league level, a World Series champion with the San Francisco Giants. And then you had Patrick Leland, who his dad's obviously a legend in the sport, and he's a great character in himself, and he knows quite a bit about the game of baseball. Super smart baseball mind. And then this past year, Chad Pinder, another guy that, man, he's just so advanced and so just wise beyond his years. Talking to him, it was like, man, you feel it in the air in Kannapolis of like the player development staff here is another level. And I think that the White Sox have done a really good job in taking their prospects and putting them under really good leadership. As far as the players themselves, obviously the scouting department's done really good, right? Mike Shirley's been doing a great job of finding the talent and using the area scouts to really lock in and make sure that they fit the White Sox mold. And then when they get here, continuing not just their strengths, but also locking in on their weaknesses and finding ways to reinvigorate the minor league organization. So it's really been fun to watch over the last couple of years. I think it's been really interesting the last few years how the White Sox have really prioritized less of the power game and more of the hit the ball hard and hit the ball on a line. Watching that has been really fun. You see the movement lately in the pitching side of things, how they're going for tall right-handed pitchers with a lot of velocity, and then some really crafty lefties that, no, they're not going to blow you away with the velo, but man, they're going to have some stuff that is going to drop off of a table. So it's always fun to watch all these guys and their different profiles and their strengths and weaknesses. The White Sox are very well-rounded in that sense.
I'm glad you mentioned all those involved parties, right? The scouting department, numerous individuals in the coaching staff that are helping bring these guys up, help them elevate to high A, AA, AAA. They end up making their debut at Rate Field in front of that very passionate fan base that you just mentioned. And because of those leaders in development, you get blue chip names like Noah Schultz and Braden Montgomery, the top two prospects in the system right now. Dan, what do each of those guys bring to the table at their respective positions, starting with Noah, who's 6'10", and I swear every time I see tape on him, he looks taller.
Yeah, he is a freak of nature, that's for sure. Seeing him pitch here was really cool. It wasn't for very long, all things considered, about 2 months or so back in 2023. But I remember showing up and Noah arriving and just going, high, like one of those things. Like I'm pretty tall myself. I'm 6'3", but seeing Noah and the height that he has is insane. And then just the overall pitchability that he has. Like there's a difference between being a really good thrower and a really good pitcher. I think Noah's really perfected the art of pitching as he's developed in the organization. Obviously, the fastball has life. That slider is the most disgusting pitch I've ever seen in my life. It is so much fun to watch. Absolutely buckles the knees of a left-handed batter every time. So Noah's a really fun guy to watch, and has that top of the rotation stuff. And you look at what the White Sox have done the last couple of drafts. I mean, Noah's another instance of a guy that they took a chance on. He didn't pitch a lot his senior year because of mono. So seeing what they've been able to do since then and kind of prove everybody, hey, I can do it. Because if he stayed healthy his senior year, he might not have gotten to the White Sox come that draft time. So it's been really fun to watch guys like Noah and their performance throughout the year.
And then with Braden, I know you had the foot fracture towards the end of last season, but you got a good look at him, right? 70 great arm on the scouting report, and someone who's had the spotlight on him for years. What stuck out to you the most about Braden Montgomery?
Yeah, I just so well-rounded of a baseball player. Braden can do everything. Another guy that, like I just said with Noah Schultz and a couple other guys in the org, like coming into his professional debut, you didn't know what you were going to get, right? Came into his professional debut and was coming off of an injury that obviously was heartbreaking for Texas A&M in the College World Series, and gets here to Kannapolis, and you really don't know what you're going to get. You know you're going to get a talented baseball player, but at what level is he going to be able to immediately put it all together? He did just that in a month here. I mean, we only saw him here for a month, and then he was moving on through the system. The thing that stuck out the most to me was his bat speed and his decision-making at the plate. Guy has a really good feel for the strike zone, and you cannot teach his bat speed. It is just otherworldly stuff.
That is awesome to hear, and there's a lot to be excited about in terms of who is rising up the prospect pipeline. One of the better farm systems, too, when you just look at frequency, when you look up and down MILB's top 100 prospect list going into the offseason, heading into 2026. Wrapping up our conversation here, Dan, I appreciate you a ton. I have to ask, because your boots on the ground 100-something games a year, who is one diamond in the rough that White Sox fans need to know about before they rise up those rankings and eventually make that splash in the big leagues?
Yeah, I'll give you two guys because I'm a little extra like that.
There we go.
My two guys that I have been saying from day one that, man alive, they're going to be really good baseball players. I'll give you the first guy is George Wolkow.
There we go.
Another guy that is he's pretty well known, but I don't think White Sox fans have fully gathered just how crazy talented George Wolkow is. At 6'7", 240 pounds. It's 240. He's probably even a little light. He's probably gained a little bit of muscle even then. But man alive, George Wolkow. I've never seen a player that has just such raw power at the plate. And once he figures out the art of a complete baseball player and the art of swing decisions and the feel for the strike zone, kind of like Braden has, it's going to be scary, man. He is so talented, and he's so young for what he is. I think I've been telling a lot of people because, you see the strikeout numbers and they kind of freak you out. But at the same hand, like, look at a Pete Alonso. He's averaging a strikeout a game. George Wolkow was at about a strikeout a game here in Kannapolis. And for a guy like Wolkow, would you rather struggle at 19 years old in single-A baseball, or would you rather struggle in SEC baseball, where if you're not playing well, they'll bench you, right? So that's an instance where I think George Wolkow's primed for a very bright future. And I'll give you another one just because he's been so hot in the last couple of months. And when I say last couple of months, had a standout Arizona Fall League, Sam Antonacci, a guy that is primed for a top 100 appearance sooner than later, and a guy that kind of flew under a lot of radars, a fifth rounder out of Coastal Carolina, only played there for one season, that is, and just immediately here presented himself as an on-base machine. He was in the top of the order for Pat Leland over our championship run at the end of 2024, and a guy that showed a lot of really good on-base ability, and then his ability to steal bases, his sure-handedness in the field at multiple positions, third, second, even a little bit of short. Antonacci really profiles as a big league guy, and it's going to be really fun to watch as a set.
Excited to see him finally pop into the top 100 rankings, which I know is inevitable. And you and I have talked on the phone for a prolonged period of time before. I love me some George Wolkow. I've been seeing him play up for a while. He's a 17-year-old that I had got a front row seat to in the Northwoods League, just tearing the cover off the baseball against 21-year-old SEC arms as a guy who could barely drive. So, Dan, I appreciate you a ton. That is Dan Helotie, voice of the Kannapolis Cannonballers. Dan, thank you for the time, man.
Absolutely. Speaking love the game. Stay blessed.